So you mentioned something about how, that midbrain is kind of hijacking that ability to make those choices, and the issue is really not a moral issue. And I can tell you from, my experience in my family, one of the first questions that we got from somebody outside when this all started to happen was they looked at my wife and I and said, "Well, what do you think you did wrong?" And I mean, we were crushed. I mean, the shame, the guilt, the feelings of, how could this happen to our family? And I mean, of course, we're thinking, what did we do wrong? And I have to tell you, in reflecting on it, we raised our kids to know right from wrong. As a matter of fact, all the parents I deal with, I've never met one that didn't raise their kids to understand, right from wrong and what's the appropriate behaviors and what's not. So could you talk just a little bit more about this issue being a moral issue? Because I think that's tough for people to understand.
Oh, it definitely is. And it's comes from a place of they know they can decide to use or not use, but they don't understand that the brain gets changed. It's not the same brain that decided to use once because they were trying to be cool at a high school football game. It's the brain gets readapted. It's kind of like if you're come to a field and you work on the other side of that field and you live here, you have to try to find a path that works. And no, it doesn't work, so you take a different path and you get through. And so you keep going back and forth on that pathway, and after a while you kick some rocks aside or break off some branches, and pretty soon it becomes a well-worn path. And taking any other path would seem ridiculous to you because it's the path. It might not be the most direct, but it's the path. And that's what happens around our brain. We can watch on electron microscopy nerves forming around other nerves, and it reinforces what we know worked for us that one time. And it was a decision at first, there's no doubt about that, but it gradually becomes it's not a moral issue after a while. It becomes, I cannot not do this. We see that the midbrain is able to shut off the frontal decider part of our brain. And we can even watch this on functional MRI. It's really fascinating. If I put you in a functional MRI, it would be lots of yellows and oranges because everything's functioning the way it should be. But if I put, let's say, an addict in a functional MRI and gave them a hit of cocaine, their midbrain would become fire engine red, and their frontal cortex turns dark blue. It just turns off. Their decider is gone. And they're physically unable to make that moral choice anymore. It's out of their hands. So dumping shame on parents is, not only is this not nice and not a Christian thing to do, but you know what? It also keeps people from getting into the treatment that they need. They try to keep it family secret and private and whatnot, and sometimes kids die and grown-ups die too because there's so much shame associated with this is a moral choice thing that they don't get the help that they need.
Yeah, so it really is something that has affected their ability to make decisions. So their bad behavior really comes back to the fact that they just are doing things that they really are having difficulty controlling.
Yeah, you know what? The more I study addiction, and I just find it fascinating. It's really a disease of volition, of free choice. It's the ability to make decisions is taken away from you by neuro changes. And it's just one of the most interesting parts of medicine, and certainly one of the most important parts of medicine in our society right now.